I've got balls of steel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Balls of Steel podcast. I am Onyx,
And I am Rumble.
and we both have balls of
Balls
steel.
of steel.
So, speaking of balls of steel, um, we both have quite the particular set of skills when it comes to FPS games,
Ooh.
also known as first person shooters to people that don't know.
Mhm.
Rumble, what is the first person shooter game you remember playing?
Doom 64.
Mine was original Doom, and it was in the form of a floppy disk.
Hmm.
Man,
Yeah,
floppies, man.
funny
Oh my
enough,
lord.
I will say like some of the games I'd say like actually no, I can't take it back in a sense, but I know like Doom 64 was was one of those like early ones, but I'd say that probably my first memorable game would have to be Duke 3D before it became Atomic.
Ah, gotcha. So, let's start from the very beginning that we can remember of first person shooters, and that would be a combination of Doom and Wolfenstein. So, would you mind telling the people at home what Doom is about?
I can try. Basically, in a nutshell, Doom is a game that was made by id Software, where you play a Marine who doesn't really know to have a name, and you go through various places, Earth, I think like Earth, Phobos, Hell itself, things like that.
Mm.
Killing demons and trying to stop a demonic invasion.
Didn't Earth happen around like Doom 2 though? Because you were in the space station on
Well,
Doom 1.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean, because honestly, like, and again, here, I don't mind admitting this, but like, I was kind of late to the party in a sense when I got into playing classic Doom. But yeah, I believe actually you're right, because yeah, Doom 2 or Doom 2 Hell on Earth is where the majority of it, took place on Earth. But yeah,
Hmm.
I kind of forgot because I don't know, like the whole because the whole like story thing of like classic Doom, it's like it's one of those things where it's like you didn't really care, and
Yeah.
it kind of going back to I think like what I can't remember if it was like John Carmack or someone else saying like that, but it's like the whole like story in the game is like story in a porno in a porno. No one it's there, but no one really expects or cares about it or something like that.
Yeah, that is something that John Romero said. Yeah, big shout out to that amazing guy. Um, and what is the story of Wolfenstein?
Well, Wolfenstein or Wolfenstein, however you want to phrase it.
I say Wolfenstein, but I know you say Wolfenstein.
Yeah, I mean, tomato, tomato.
Yeah, but continue.
um, um, well, basically the way I can gather is that you are a American spy by the name of B.J. Blazkowicz, or sometimes also might be known as like William J. Blazkowicz, but I know it's also known as B.J. Blazkowicz.
Hmm.
But you are pretty much a American spy who got captured by the Nazis, and you're trying to escape from the clutches of a Nazi prison and trying to put an end to a possible upcoming World War thing coming up. If that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. Um, and technically, Wolfenstein came out before Doom. It was
True.
kind of like a precursor of like what would soon become the formula for a lot of first-person shooters going forward.
Hmm.
Um, Now, when it comes to Wolfenstein, yes, you play as William J. Blazkowicz, and you're basically going through different bunker stages, and you're trying to get out. And of course, you have to kill bosses along the way.
Oh yeah.
Um, And that's kind of like just the whole gist of it, really.
Yeah.
I always found it kind of interesting that in order to get like health back, BJ had to eat dog food. Um, like that used to get to me. It's like, that artificial protein. Nom 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 nom. Um, but then there's Doom, where you play as an unnamed space marine, which people have dubbed Doom Guy.
Hmm.
Um, and man, his just whole weapon arsenal was interesting. Do you remember all of the guns that Doom Guy is used in different games?
Oh, of course. I mean, it kind of follows like a certain formula for the most part, but
Yeah, it's become a
yeah,
staple. Yeah.
yeah. It's pretty kind of stable. So, like, for example, he's got his classic fist, or his hand, because sometimes depending on how you play it, you go to there's this punch the living bejesus out of an enemy.
Yeah, isn't that
You
called
know,
Berserker mode or something?
mm, you could look at it that way, but like so it kind of depends because sometimes you may have those moments where it's like you don't have a whole lot of ammo and you have to like kind of like punch your way out of like certain situations, and things like that. But it would kind of depend on like the enemy at hand as well. But yes,
Yeah, I
there
think
is
they called it Berserker mode in Doom 2016, I believe.
probably. I mean, it's been a hot minute, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Hashtag demon steroids. Um,
Yeah.
I
And
yeah, I
yeah.
love that about Doom 2016. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
there's
continue.
there's
What other weapons did he have?
Well, there's the fist, of course, and then there was the chainsaw that kind of got some things changed here and there from like the classic game to the new stuff
And
and
don't forget
everything.
the pistol.
I was getting to it, damn it.
I thought you were
um,
I thought you were going to segue from the fist to the pistol, but okay.
I mean, I'm going through it. I'm going through everything one by one. So,
Yeah, go
but
ahead, man.
yes,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
but yes, there is the pistol, which has gotten some changes over the years as well. From being like a pea shooter type of thing to, from to new Doom stuff being like a laser type of pistol type of thing, which it could be like a hit or a miss, but it's not like the worst thing ever. I mean, I'd say I like the new Doom pistol thing versus classic Doom pistol, but
Yeah,
if I'm
because
talking,
the new pistol has unlimited ammo, but it's not the strongest thing in the world.
yeah, I mean, and yeah, and also like that it does have a little alt fire thing where you kind of like charge it up and if you're lucky, you can kind of pop certain demons' heads off like a cork.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
But yeah, there's that. There is the shotgun, which
Hmm.
has definitely been like the staple of the Doom games.
Oh yeah.
There's also the SSG, which is also known as the super shotgun or double barrel
Oh.
shotgun, if you
Or
will.
as I named her, Persephone in Doom 2016,
Yes.
because that
Uh,
that super shotgun is so beautiful. It's a
yeah,
beautiful
it's
piece of equipment.
definitely very lovely for sure.
Mm.
But yeah, there's that. There is the chain gun, which has some changes here and there. Rocket launcher, plasma rifle, and then of course the mother of all weapons, the BFG.
And then in Doom 64, there was the Unmaker.
Oh yeah.
Which can you explain to people what the Unmaker is versus the BFG?
Um, the best way I can say it is like it's a special type of weapon. It's more towards like of a demonic weapon, if you will. It was a weapon that was first introduced mainly in Doom 64, where if you find it, you could be able to use it, on certain things, and it had a special little thing for it having what is called demon keys or artifacts, if you will.
Hmm. I remember that.
Um, yeah, and basically, like if you were basically like if you got all three demon keys, then you could basically mow down a lot of enemies, especially fucking big ones, like the goddamn Cyber Demon, for example.
Yeah.
Because basically what happens is, the more demon key, demon artifact key things that you get for it, the more powerful your weapon becomes, and it's like it starts off like as like a little pew pew laser type of thing. Kind of,
Hmm.
so it's a little slow. Takes up some cell ammo, which is good. But it can also kind of be useful for like certain areas that you can totally use for like say a BOG. Like say for example, there's like some bars and everything like that, and you want to try and kill some enemies on the other side. Well, if you want to go save like bullet ammo and everything, if you have it on Maker, you gotta just shoot through that, just go from there.
Yeah.
But then and then eventually your thing gets a little stronger. If you get like the first demon key, shoots a little bit faster, and then another one gives you like 2 lasers per shot, and then the final one gives you like 3 lasers, and it kind of like spreads out in like a pattern that repeats over and over at times, and like I say, it can do pretty good that amount of damage.
And then there's what's considered the strongest weapon in all of Doom. And no, we're not going to call it the Bioforce gun that it was called in the stupid Doom movie. We'll say it together what it's really called in 3, 2, 1. The big fucking
Fucking
gun.
gun. Exactly.
That is what it's called. It is not a Bioforce gun. They need to get their shit straight and play the fucking game.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
would you like to tell the people at home what the big fucking gun does?
Sure. The big fucking gun, or the BFG, is known to be a big ass gun, as its name implies, where it shoots out like a huge ball of energy. It's like it shoots like a green ball of death, if you will. And over the years, like it has changed from like the classic Doom to the new stuff, where
Mhm.
it's kind of like I guess you say it's almost kind of um, like a nuke, if you will, but not like a nuke where it's like it's gonna kill everything, including you, but
It tries to
um,
clear everything in rooms, yeah.
yes, it's pretty much a room clear, if you will, and like in classic Doom, you shoot like a green, like a green ball, big old ball projectile thing of a pure concentrated death,
Hmm.
and everything, and whenever it hits a wall or an enemy, if there's anyone that's nearby, they get hit by it. They can get hit by like the quote unquote like tracers, if you will, which are known to be invisible, but um, yeah, it's kind of like a little room clear thing and everything. It can be pretty useful depending on the situation at hand, especially like what kind of enemies that you go up against. But in 2016 and above, um, they kind of made that a little bit more deadlier, which I
Yeah.
actually really love. Because basically what happens is, as the BFG ball, like travels, its distance or whatever, if there are enemies that, are within its little line of sight, if you will, they have like these little like green things that'll just zap them
Yeah, it
until they
auto
pretty much just,
targets anything that's in the room that's not being blocked by like a pillar or something.
yeah, it's like it's so fucking good. Like that when I played 2016 and everything. Oh, it's like I love that
It
fucking,
was
I love the
beautiful,
upgrades.
yes. Now, wasn't there a upgrade to the BFG at one point? What was it, like the BFG 5000 or something?
Um,
They
it's not,
definitely made it a longer gun.
um, I
And it
think the
looked
only,
like it had like a little clear chamber in the center that looked like it was pulsing green energy.
um, the only thing I can think of is back in Doom Eternal when they had like a BFG type of weapon that can literally destroy a fucking planet. But as far as other BFG types go, like there have been like some other variants in a way, but not
Mm,
quite in the quote unquote official terms, if you will.
gotcha. Yeah, I
Because
just can't
because
think of the name right now, but I remember there being like an upgraded version of the BFG but it had like more of a longer look to it.
I'm trying to think because like I know the BOG is kind of been kind of common for like other for like certain games here and there, but like because I know, and just a little history thing for those that don't know, but the BOG back then was going to be completely different in Classic Doom versus what we got today because
Yeah.
it was going to be it was going to shoot like a bunch of like plasma induced ball that would just go all over the fucking place.
Mm.
But they changed it because for mainly two reasons. One, it would often at times lower the frame rate of the game because of how
Oh yeah.
because of all those fucking particles in the whole screen and everything.
Hmm.
And two, and I think this is what John Romero said, it looked like Christmas.
It did look like Christmas. I can agree with that one.
Yeah, but yeah. I'm trying to think, but like, yeah, because I know Doom was known for for the infamous BOG, and I know Quake, mostly like Quake 2 had a BOG as well,
Oh,
but
we'll be getting to Quake soon. Don't you worry about
uh,
that.
yeah, I'm trying to think as much as you are, like as to what BOG you're talking about.
Well, probably whenever we do a part 2 to this, I'll probably have the answer to that. But
Hmm.
now we must segue to Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah.
And don't worry, we will talk about the quote unquote unofficial sequel of Wolfenstein. But first, we're going to talk about the original. What were the weapons that Mr. BJ Blazkowicz would use?
Um, let's see. He's known to have a knife,
Hmm.
to be a little stabby with. He had a pistol that he would get from a guard that he somehow managed to fool into coming into his cell.
Hmm.
He had a MP40 type of weapon, which was known to be like the most common weapon that people would use if you were playing the classic game.
That was the
Um,
automatic weapon, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
the one that goes like the, pew, pew, the that.
Hmm.
And then, and this because he didn't really have a whole lot from my knowledge, he did have though a chain gun of his own.
Yeah. Which
Yeah,
that thing can
basically.
be very overpowered too.
Oh yeah, man, especially like if you have like a lot of low level enemies and things like that, and can maybe get them, lined up, and do the whole like bottleneck and blitzkrieg type of maneuver, and it's like, yeah.
And then there was the unofficial sequel called Spear of Destiny,
Oh yes, that is
which
right.
that is a hard game. Like it takes the original Wolfenstein and like bumps it up by tenfold. Um,
True.
now there was an alteration of the story of Wolfenstein 1 versus Spear of Destiny. Can you tell the people at home what Spear of Destiny was about?
Oh God. Um, I wish I could, but like I know that like there was a thing where I think like Spear of Destiny was like a prequel type of thing leading up to Wolfenstein or Wolfenstein or whatever we call it. And I remember that like and I remember too that like in the original Wolfenstein game that there were 6 episodes, and it's like the first three were going to be like the original missions,
Hmm.
and episodes like 4 through 6 were what was known as, I think it's like the nocturnal missions, which was kind of like a prequel to what episodes 1 through 3 would have.
Yeah,
Um,
because I all I remember was the final level of Spear of Destiny kind of technically happened in hell, and it was
yeah.
kind of a lead into Doom in a way, um, which I always thought was pretty cool. And plus, there was a lot of Wolfenstein games that happened over the years. Some that were canon, some that weren't canon. Like still to this
True.
day, people try to consider whether or not. Wolfenstein RPG is even canon because it has a final boss that would in the future become the Cyber Demon.
Mm.
which I always thought that was pretty cool because that demon would say he would put a curse on Blaskovich's family and bloodline, and one day they would meet again, but he comes back as the cyber demon and technically fights Doom Guy,
Mm.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah. You speak of that too, and I remember people were saying that like Doom Guy and BG were like related in some sort of
Yeah,
way. I don't know.
I still believe it.
I mean, I'm not gonna say like I don't believe it, but it's like I don't know. It's like I'm trying to like think about it a minute because it's like you go from like fucking fighting Nazis to fighting demons and all that, and it's like I mean maybe question mark.
Yeah, there was another game that's also in the universe of Wolfenstein and Doom. I can't remember that little kid's name. Um, all I remember was that he wore like a helmet on his head.
Hmm.
Billy. I always called him Billy Junior, but
Oh wait.
Captain something, I think.
Oh, yeah,
Commander something.
Commander Keen.
Yeah, Commander Keen. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the gameplay is nothing like Wolfenstein or Doom, but it's
Yeah, it's
also
not.
kind of in the same universe as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those two games in particular, though, Wolfenstein and Doom, absolute classics, and they're the most important in like first-person shooters. But
Oh
then
yeah.
there was a third, a smart ass talking guy that had one liners and loved babes and guns and took that special vitamin X. And we are talking about Duke Nukem. Now, Duke Nukem technically started as a platformer game for
Yes.
DOS.
Yep.
And it technically is kind of like the start of Duke Nukem, but we're not going to count those for this particular conversation because, well,
Mhm.
he wasn't a first person shooter game, but he became a first person shooter game, and he was called Duke
Indeed.
Nukem. And oh my lord, man, that was a complete change in the formula for Duke. Like, I remember when Duke came out. Like, I remember that, and I was excited. I was excited. And of course, the legendary John St. John voices Duke Nukem.
Oh yeah.
And still to this day on my YouTube channel, I still have that special shout out from John St. John where he called me a pussy. And he's the only one allowed to call me a pussy. Um, and I'd let him do it again. Which one day, man, I would love to find a way to get John St. John on the podcast. That would be a dream come true. Because I have
Oh
questions for that crazy man. I do.
yeah.
But I'm not going to spoil those questions. In case one day he finds out we have a podcast. And the funny thing is because me and Rumble bonded the most with his Duke Nukem content. That's kind of how we came up with the name for the podcast. Because
Mhm.
in the intro of every podcast that we do, I've edited in an intro of Duke Nukem saying, I've got balls of steel. And we say that we both have balls of steel.
Balls and steel.
And because the Duke Nukem games was what got me in Rumble to meet after like 15 years.
Oh yeah.
Which, man, June, man, I think it's like the middle of this month, will be 16 years.
Quite a thing. It
That is
is.
insane, man. Um, but yeah, would you like to explain to the people at home who Duke Nukem is?
um. So Duke Nukem is a guy who It's from what I've understood, at some parts here and there, where it's like he was going to be like a former soldier type of thing, but he's going to be like a protagonist. He's going to be like the main protagonist of of the Nukem series.
Mm.
He was a guy who got who got kidnapped by aliens, in the classic Duke 1 and 2, and then he comes back to Earth and everything after defeating the final boss in Duke 2, to where he finds out that aliens have taken over the world and have been stealing our chicks, also known as the women of Earth.
Yep.
So he does his best, to go around and kill the aliens and stuff as much as he can. And even though like he wants to try and save the babes, but depending on like the version of Duke that you play, like there's one special little thing that he can, but also known that he can't. But he tries to like save the world and everything like that, and uses various plethora of guns and things like that. And he goes to like he goes to Earth, he goes to space, and things like that, and just kicking ass and not even chewing bubble gum.
And he's all out of gum.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much the best way I can kind of say. It's like he's a guy, who looks like he'd be in a like he came from like a bodybuilding contest or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Uses a bunch of guns. Kills aliens. And loves women.
Do you have any quotes of Duke Nukem that are your favorite? Because I got a few.
Uh, hmm.
Would you like me to go
Well,
first?
sure, you go ahead and see what you got.
Of course, there's the classic, I've come to kick ass and chew bubble gum, but I'm all out of gum. And then there's your ass, your face, what's the difference? Death before disco, I hate disco. I'm gonna kick your ass and shit down your neck. Um, oh my god. Oh yeah, there's also the classics of you wanna dance? Ooh, shake it, baby. I'm trying to think if there's any more that I know of. Oh my god. There's one on the tip of my tongue, but I'm trying to remember it. Um Oh yeah, when he found Doom Guy and he was like, "That is one Doom Space Marine."
Oh yes, that's that's the typical Easter egg thing, for when you find the dead Doom guy in the game.
And then there's the one where he finds Luke Skywalker.
Now that's a force to be reckoned with.
No, that's a force to be reckoned with. Um, like I love all the one-liners, man. Like I love it. And but then there's like classic one-liners, and there's one in particular that I know you know of because it references Ash Williams, and that's where I'm going to segue into you telling me your favorite quotes.
Well, yeah. I mean, the one thing I would say, is when he says groovy.
And hail to
Uh,
the king, baby.
yeah, and that too. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot to say in it as well. I mean, I almost like there are some that you kind of that you said that kind of were a little bit mixed up, but yeah, I'd say that's probably one of my this may be random to some, but I say one of my favorite little ones is kind of like a knockoff. It's kind of like a knock on Quake, where it's like I think you go to LA Rumble and there's like this building kind of like just rumbles and shakes and changes to the form and all that, and Duke says, "I ain't afraid of no Quake."
Yeah, I remember that.
Um,
There's also the one that you like of the key cards too.
Geekers, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't need no stinking key card.
Oh yeah, yeah. Key cards. I don't need no fucking key cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember there were some that were there's like quite a lot, and I remember I think there's like some possible unofficial ones that he did because I remember like hearing some things that I didn't really remember hearing before, but the one thing I remember a long time ago and that I used to do was back when I played the Megaton edition on PC, which had like Duke 3 Atomic and all three of the expansions and all that. I did a bit of a thing to where I would like change up a lot of the quotes and everything like that to kind of be
Hmm.
somewhat more like modern-ish because there's not a bit because I used to do this thing where I used to have like a little bit of a skin mod, if you would, that changed some, if not all, the weapons to various different things, like the pistol from Duke 3D being one being the one from Duke 64,
Hmm.
having the chain gun be the SMGs from Duke 64 as
Oh, we'll be
well.
getting to the weapons in a little bit, but continue what you were saying.
Yeah, but yeah, I used to have a thing where it's like it was basically a Duke Nukem Gloves mod where it's based around like the DNF, gloves and everything like that, but some of the weapons would change, and I used to have like these like these other like sounds and like other one-liners and things like that, and I'm trying to remember because it's been such a hot minute, but I think I remember changing. I think I remember there was one line that I changed where Duke faces the Cyclone Emperor at the stadium level. I
Hmm.
think like
I
originally,
remember.
yeah, I think it was originally it's like, um, God, it's like, I can't even remember now because I got my head's like full of that. But I remember changing it to where Duke would say, "Prepare to die."
Prepare to die. Um, and plus, technically, you're very well known in the Duke Nukem community.
I mean, depending, I'd say, it kind of depends, but yes, so random little story, if you don't mind me sharing.
Sure.
Um, a long while back in Duke Nukem 3D's Megathon Edition days, back when kind of like when the whole multiplayer thing was coming about, me and a few friends were known to be like the first ones that got to play multiplayer exclusively because we were trying to fix things up for multiplayer from like co-oping and deathmatch or what is called as Duke matching,
Hmm.
and in the games. And we actually had our names credited in the multiplayer testing thing or something like that. And even though I didn't really have like my actual name, but I went under like a bit of an alias that had my username in it as well. But yeah, I used to, it was quite an honor to do so. And even though like I think like some of my friends got paid in money, I technically got paid in games.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I still had, it was quite a memorable experience, and I was nice being able to have like my name somehow cemented in the world of Duke in some sort of way.
Because, yeah, you also went by a nickname that I tend to always be the only one to call you, which is Nukem Roses.
Yes,
Yeah.
because basically I I think the whole Nukem Roses thing started off whenever I was known to play with a few random friends that I met in the Duke Nukem community, and I call myself Nukem Roses because, well, Duke Nukem and Rumble Roses are pretty much my two main favorite games and all that. So it's like and everything like that, and then whenever I brought back whenever I managed to come back to YouTube after false deletion of my old YouTube channel and everything like that. I used to go by Mr. Nukem Roses before I
Hmm.
went back to be Mr. Rumble Roses because Mr. Rumble Roses is pretty much the name that kind of like has solidified me as far as like my presence online. Just like I would kind of say yours would be like it was Onyx the Gaming Machine or something like that. So.
Priceless Onyx Spade. Yeah. I remember
Or that
that.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, some people have like certain names and like they felt they're more known to go by more than others. So.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the Duke Nukem talk. What was Duke Nukem's weapons?
Well, of course, there was the good old mighty foot, which you could either use that from the right foot or the left foot.
Yeah, he would just kick
um,
people. Yeah,
yeah,
and he would be like,
they,
yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go by Duke 3D standards first before I do anything else. But yeah,
Yeah.
there was the pistol,
Mm-hmm.
there was a shotgun, and there was a gun that goes by a few different names, from like the chain gun, cannon to the Ripper. There was an RPG weapon. There was, of course, good old pipe bombs, which you kind of like just throw in a room or something, and then beep beep, hit a button and make them explode.
Yeah.
There was a shrinker to be able to shrink people or shrink enemies. Step on to make them go whoosh, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There was the expander weapon, which made it to where enemies can expand and then explode.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then there was the Devastator, which is pretty much like I guess you say like a mini dual rocket kind of shooter thing, which it can be useful in some parts, but it also can be deadly at all other times as well, because depending on what you're shooting at, sometimes enemies can get drawn closer to you to the point where you might take splash damage.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then of course there was trip mines or laser trip mines, which it's kind of I don't know if I would say like it's a was like to be like the most useful weapon as far as like like single player wise. And then lastly, there was what's called the freeze thrower, or the freeze gun, or whatever. Right? I think it's mostly called the freeze thrower,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, those were the main weaponry of Duke 3D. But there
Mm-hmm.
were, in other different games and ports and things like that, some of them have changed in some sort of way, like either by like style or like by functionality, for example.
Care to give some examples?
Sure. So for me, the one Duke Nukem game that I was always on to play that I kind of grew up with was Duke Nukem 64, which was, I want to say like in a way it was like a little bit better than Duke 3D, but even though it was more even though it was kind of more censored versus the original thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the pistol, for example, had a new look. I think it also had like a certain ammo limit as well, but the one thing about it was it had an alternate ammo type, which was called Dum Dums. Um,
I remember the Dum Dums. Yeah.
yeah, the Dum Dums were pretty much like, I want to say like a bit of a special type of weapon that kind of killed things a little bit quicker depending on the situation. They were pretty useful and everything. And I usually kind of save them for for certain occasions, especially like if I want to kill like maybe like a pig cub and maybe like two shots or something, or if I'm wanting to use it for like maybe like a boss or something.
Yeah, I was about to say I usually use them for bosses.
Yeah, because I mean, it does do the job pretty good, I will say.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And for the shotgun, there was going to be the explosive rounds, which can be very useful as well. It was no like its own little ammo type that can be used, especially if you didn't have like an explosive weapon like the grenade launcher that replaced the RPG in the quote unquote like slot 5 section, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the chain gun the chain gun cannon slash ripper got turned into dual Uzis, or well, not dual Uzis, like dual some SMGs, if you will.
Yeah.
Not too bad of a thing to use, and everything. And then there was the grenade launcher that, like I said, replaced the rocket launcher from the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Shrinker and Expander are still there, but the rocket launcher was the thing that replaced the Devastator in Duke Nukem 64, and I do kind of like that. I did kind of like that one, especially because of how you can have heat-seeking rockets.
Yeah, I like the
Um,
Devastator more though.
yeah, I mean, yeah, they're both good in their own way. And then you pretty much had what was pretty much like the Duke Nukem equivalent of a BFG, which was called the plasma cannon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you
And I know
if you
you
were to hold
really
it,
like the plasma cannon.
I mean, depending on the circumstance, it can do pretty good shit.
But
Especially
also
like
the
if you were
Duke
to hold it.
Nukem games, they introduced another thing which was like power-ups as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
like for example, I'll name one that always became very useful was the Hollow Duke.
Mm, it can have its uses, yeah. Yeah. Basically, there was like like different inventory items. Like there was like the Hollow Duke, where you pretty much had like a hologram projection of Duke, and sometimes if you were to use it just right, then you could probably be able to have like enemies, attack that, and maybe get like a sneaky advantage on other occasions.
Hmm.
And then there was, of course, the jetpack that lets you be able to fly around if you had like a good amount of fuel in it. The roids are also known as like Vitamin X, depending on what game that you're playing. Basically,
Yeah.
yeah, basically like the steroids slash Vitamin X was a thing where usually you can be able to like run super fast, almost kind of like Sonic Speed, but probably still not be quick enough to outrun Sonic, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
Um, and yeah, there was that, and there was night vision goggles, which I would say that 64 did better than versus what 3D had, in my opinion.
And then of course, we have a split opinion on this next game from Duke Nukem, which is Duke Nukem Forever.
Ye-
Um,
Yeah.
there was a couple things that I did like about Duke Nukem Forever. I'll get to mine, and then you can talk about the rest of the game. But I did like
Okay.
the fact that the pistol was gold.
Oh yeah, it was real nice looking.
Yeah, that was really nice. There was also moments where there was the whole increasing of ego, where it's like, you pissing in a toilet and stuff like that. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't mind the parts where he would be small Duke, like he would be shrunken down. That was kind of funny.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to think, didn't Duke Nukem Forever also introduce punching for Duke?
Yes. Yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, like it had like the ability where you can be able to actually punch, and sometimes you can be able to do what's kind of like a finisher on some enemies. Like, I think, like for example, like for like if you were taking out a pickup and it's like I think they get like they're on their knees, you kind of like just like grab their little token as a, you know.
And then, of course, I loved the whole alien titties thing where he would just slap them around like that. That was funny. Um,
Yes.
but now you can get into the other stuff in the game because, like I said, I do not like Duke Nukem Forever. There is a mod that came out in 2013 that I really, really
Mm-hmm.
like, which kind of rebuilt what Duke Nukem Forever was originally going to be until they scrapped that project and made it more modern.
Yeah.
Um, which, probably in another episode of the podcast where we talk more about FPS stuff, we can talk about mods.
Oh
Um,
yeah. So
but
that
in
could be
this case,
interesting.
Rumble, take it away. Talk about the rest of Duke Nukem Forever and like what it's about and stuff like that.
Um, okay, so basically, Dude Nukem Forever is pretty much the thing where it was like years had gone by since the events of Duke Nukem 3D. Duke is pretty much, infinitely famous. He has he has his own casino. He has the ability, to have like a secret little like Duke cave and stuff like that, if you will. He
Mm.
has the ability to talk to the president, and also his old general, buddy and everything like that, and basically, in a nutshell, the aliens return once again, and the president wanted Duke to kind of stay out of it because he wanted to try and make peace, even though well, spoiler alert, even though it's been out for a while now, basically, it didn't go well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But basically, Duke's, trying, just like, just chilling, kicking back and everything like that. But of course, aliens, want to cause shit, they want to wreck everything, and pretty much, again, take, steal the babes and everything like that, and try and, you know, make more, aliens and creatures and things like that.
Yeah, the whole
Um,
reproducing thing. Yeah.
yeah. And then there's a whole thing, and there's also these moments where like you would be able to drive a monster truck. I think it's called, I think it's also called the Mighty Foot,
Hmm.
which some people were kind of like had like a mixed bag in it and everything. And I will say this, okay? Like I know a lot of people didn't like it. I know Onyx here didn't like it,
Yeah, I didn't like it. No.
but I would say like it's not the worst Duke ever because if you want to start talking about worst Duke games, fucking play the Sega Genesis version of Duke 3D. Like,
I have, and it is pretty bad. I remember
yeah,
the Sega Genesis version.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would honestly play Duke Nukem Forever versus that. But I mean, like, yeah, it was a game that like that took 13 to 14 years to develop. Yes, and things change here and there and all that. But I'm not gonna sit here and say that like it's the worst thing ever, but I'm not gonna sit here and say that like it's that like it topples Duke 3D because Duke 3D is a classic and it will always be the standout be all and all of the whole Duke franchise in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did that game end?
um,
Because I never
well,
finished Duke Nukem Forever.
basically, as far as the main game goes, you have another confrontation with the Cycloid Emperor who ended up killing the president. And of course, you're killing them as much as you can, and sometimes here and there, you get like a supply drop, so you never run out of ammo. And I think it kind of like ended where it seemed like there was going to be like a nuke or something that dropped, and people were thinking, oh, that Duke's dead, but in reality, he's not. But then like you find out that apparently Duke becomes president.
Oh God, President Duke. Duke burgers for everyone.
There was a DLC for that as well. I think it's like the Doctor Who Call Me, which I think a
Yeah, I
lot of
heard
people
about the
said they,
DLC. Yeah.
yeah, which a lot of people seem to like that a little bit more versus the base game. I mean, I don't really have much complaints over that, but I mean, it was like a little nice little callback and everything like that, especially when they actually made the whole situation of actually making Duke bots.
I remember that.
But yeah.
But yeah, as the final game for this part of the FPS podcast episode, there's one I have to talk about because we both love this game and it needs to be ported to different consoles, and that is Blood.
Oh yes, blood.
Would you like to explain the story of Blood before we talk about the weapons?
Um, the
Because I
best
know
way I
you
can.
love Blood.
The best way I can kind of describe it is you play as a man named Caleb who joined the cult, who also was like maybe the same one that had your wife known as Ophelia in it as well.
Hmm.
But you and everyone else, get like taken away or get sacrificed and things like that, and then you as Caleb you get pretty much buried. You pretty much get buried. I don't know if I would say buried alive, but buried nonetheless.
Hmm.
And so but you come back from beyond the grave or whatever.
And he says his famous line, which is, I live again.
Again. Yeah.
And
But yeah,
he's like armed with like at least a pitchfork.
yeah, that's pretty much like the one infamous thing. But yeah, he does that, and he's trying to find the ma- the thing that he was going to be worshiping, which was a diabolical type creature called Chernobog,
Hmm.
because he's wanting to find out why did he turn on him and everyone else, and then throughout each episode, when you get to the end, you basically find, like your friends and your wife and everything pretty much dead in some sort of way. And then I think I was like maybe and then finally at one like near the end of the game, you finally come up against Chernobog, you kill his ass, and then pretty much Pimp walk out there was the cane was like a cane, which actually was like which was a certain weapon that we'll get into in just a moment.
Yeah, and the thing about Blood is it's a more darker and sinister version of the Duke Nukem formula in a way, because
Okay.
Caleb has one-liners as well, but a lot of my favorite references came from Blood. Like aside from kicking the balls to Duke Nukem, where you find like
Okay.
his body hanging in a cave and he's like, "Ooh, shake it, baby."
Oh
Um,
yes.
there's also like a lot of movie nods as well. Like there's one based on Psycho. There's one based off of The Shining. A lot of them actually based on The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's just a lot of different references that I could get into, but it would take way too long. Um, and it like I said, out of all the FPS games that I've played, Blood is one of the most overlooked in history, but it's also one of the most important in history. Like if you know the history of Blood, then you know why, because there was also a lot of controversy,
Oh yeah.
which I'll probably let you get into here in a minute. But let's review his weapons, shall we?
Sure. Um, so as you mentioned earlier, he has a pitchfork, which is basically his melee type of weapon.
Hmm.
He has a flare gun, which is pretty much his equivalent of a pistol, but
And I
you can.
love the flare gun because you can set people on fire and they scream to death.
Oh yes, and especially like if you have enough ammo, you can use the alt fire on that and pretty much make like a diamond shaped thing of all the flares, and just just have like a big boom coming from it as well.
Oh yeah, and like you'll hear like the evil monks like scream and stuff. It's so satisfying. Um,
Oh yeah.
continue though.
And of course he has what would be probably like the most infamous weapon in the game, which is the sawed-off shotgun, which could be fired like either one barrel at a time or both, depending on
And I
which button
love
that you have.
that shotgun too. I can't say that it's better than the super shotgun from Doom, but it's up there because it's such a beautiful looking weapon.
Yeah, and funny enough, like I remember like the times where I seen that weapon in action, and it's like it makes me kind of think that he's holding it with one hand, but when like he reloads it, it's like his other hand comes out of nowhere because I think originally he's supposed to like be holding like having his other hand like his left hand like holding the barrel stock or whatever.
Hmm.
But apparently like it doesn't happen in the main game. But like yeah, it's a very nice weapon. Other weapons include the Tommy gun, which can have like an alt fire where you just kind of like spray and pray, where it's like kind of like just do like a little like just kind of like a fan, I want to say like a fan type of motion. It's like goes like it's
Which
like
I will say, the sprite that they used for the Tommy gun is spotless.
oh yeah,
Like it looks
uh,
so good.
oh yeah, that is a fact. Another weapon is pretty much his version of a rocket launcher or something, but it's actually called a napalm launcher.
Hmm.
Napalm launcher can, oh my god, like it's probably like one. I want to say it's probably like one of the more devastating weapons, probably like compared to like say like the ones from like Duke and even Doom, for example, because
Hmm.
boy, if you have enough fuel for that, you can build like you can send like a clusterfuck of like like napalm balls and just like have everything just explodes on it. Just
Like I want to also mention one weapon from Blood that used to save my ass was the dynamite.
Oh yeah, dynamite. Yeah, that could be pretty good as well. Because funny you mentioned that because there's technically I think like two versions. Like there's one that
Yeah,
you
there's two
use.
versions. Yeah, I just don't remember
Yeah,
the second one.
there's two versions of it where it's like you have the regular dynamite, so where it's like a bundle, you light it with a lighter, you throw it, and if you were to throw it like normally, it would explode on impact, but if you were to do the alt fire thing, you kind of like chuck it into a room or something like that, and it'll take a little bit of time and then explode.
And you have to be
Um,
careful too because if you're too close to the blast, it can hurt you too.
Oh yeah, I think that because the splash damage, the blast radius and stuff like that from blood has like a little like a dome shaped thing, like that expands from what I can remember.
Yeah.
Um, but the other dynamite is pretty much like a remote dynamite kind of thing, where it's like you throw it and you hit a button and it explodes that way as well.
Yeah.
Um, And then of course you have the spray can where you have like a, you
Mm,
know, the
yeah.
you have
Spray can.
like a spray thing. You have a light, just that, or you could pretty much do like a thing where you ignite it. It's on fire a little bit. You can toss that. You can kind of chuck that into a room as well, especially with low level enemies.
Hmm.
Um, and I believe I was about to say the final thing, but there's actually another one. But there's a weapon called the Tesla cannon, I believe, which
Yes.
it's pretty nice. I do like that one. It's kind of like the plasma rifle in a sense for blood, but the alt fire is the thing. You can be able to charge it up, and you can kind of like you can do a lot of damage stuff like, especially like shocking the ever living shit out of some enemies as well. To the point where you can actually like see their fucking like skeletal things as well. I'm like, I want to say the leecher weapon, but it's pretty much
Yeah,
like
the final weapon is the leecher. Yeah.
pretty much like it's a weapon that has like a skull head thing at the tip of it, and you pretty much need to be shooting that thing, and I think like you can be able to set enemies on fire, but if you don't have ammo for it, what it does because there's a little bit of a trade off on that weapon because if you don't have ammo for it or enough ammo for it, it saps your health until you're pretty much, dead.
Yeah. What did you?
And the
What did? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but the alt fire for that is pretty much where you kind of like just throw it in, just throw it and again, kind of act like a turret, if you will, and kind of just, just whatever it can.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that can be abused a lot depending on the enemies you use it on.
Yeah.
What did you think about the sequel?
Uh,
Because the
see,
sequel, I'm not gonna say it was bad, but it's not as memorable as the first one.
yeah. Yeah. I think I'm trying to remember because I think the whole situation with the sequel of Blood, also known as Blood 2,
Hmm.
it was rushed, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best way I would put it. Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah,
damn rushed.
it's like it was unfortunately rushed and it didn't really turn out as good and everything. And yeah, I would say like it's not it's not like so terrible, but but it's one of those things where it's like you might play it once or twice and then kind of like okay, I'm done with it.
I don't even remember the story for the second one. Do you?
The only thing that comes to my mind is that there's this guy, I want to say like his name is like Gideon or something like that, and he's trying to like resurrect the whole cult thing of like what Chernobyl was doing in the first game
Hmm.
and everything like that and everything like that and like I think you kind of run into some of your friends and even your wife and stuff from the past, but they changed a lot of that stuff to where it's like, you know,
But I do want to talk briefly about one more, and then we'll like leave it there for like another like part 2 whenever we do it.
Alright.
What were your thoughts on Hexen?
Funny enough, like I never actually fully finished Hexen, but
Yeah, I
that was
remember. Yeah.
that was a game that it was a little bit different in terms of like the formula, especially against the classic games because
Because you
because
could
usually
choose what type of character, yeah.
you can choose what type of character and you can actually it was like an open almost like its own interpretation of like an open world type of area type of thing, you know. I would say like it was okay, but sometimes it did feel a little bit tedious.
Oh yeah, because Hexen and Hexen 2 are complete polar opposites of each other, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah. Yeah, even though I haven't fully played Hexen 2 myself, but I have that game. I have a port for it. I have like a source port thing for it. I played for it a little bit, but yeah, like they are completely different things for sure.
Would you ever plan on finishing them?
If I somehow get like a better PC and something like that, or then maybe. But right now, like the only way I could probably ever somehow maybe play them is it come to console.
Yeah, especially Hexen 1, because even though a Hexen 1 is quite the wild ride, um, it it's crazy. Um,
Right.
but I do have a bonus subject um, we can
Oh,
talk about before we end this session. Rise of the
sure.
Triad.
Oh, right, let's try
I'll,
it.
I'll let you talk about Rise of the Triad. I think that'll be a nice little closer for us.
Okay, so Rise of the Triad was, funny enough, supposed to be originally the sequel to Wolfenstein 3D.
Mm-hmm.
It was known
Correct.
to be called Wolfenstein 2: Rise of the Triad,
Yep.
but the people that were trying to make it didn't really have the permission and stuff like that to
Yeah, they
make a
didn't
sequel
have the
for.
permissions. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have the permission stuff to make a sequel for that, so they pretty much put their own little spin on it, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, And I believe that the majority of it came as an inspiration from the old Doom Bible, from what Doom was supposed to be back then.
Correct. Yeah.
And you had like a bunch of different characters to play as that had like their own little unique stats for certain things, like like weaponry, health, and other, among other things.
And you could choose
Um,
between different characters to play too.
yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. And you had like you had like different power ups and stuff like that as well. You could turn into a dog. You can you can pretty much be able to fly. And there's also like the one game that I remember where it had quote unquote power downs, where basically it was known to fuck you over in some sort of way.
Plus, the music was really good.
Oh man, yeah, fucking I think Lee Jackson did a lot of it. It
Yeah.
was banger.
Yeah. Because there was like 2 games of that, right?
Technically, yes.
Yeah. Because I know that there's been people that have tried to do mods of Rise of Triad.
Oh yeah, especially when
Which,
it came to
one day we'll talk about mods because there's quite a
mm,
bit that we could talk about with that. But yeah, probably
oh
the
for
next
sure.
time we talk about this, we'll definitely like talk about like my stuff with Halo. Um, and then of course there's gonna be like other FPSs that we can talk about. I know there's a lot more FPSs that you've played, and
Hmm.
we'll definitely get into that with like a second part, just like we'll be doing a second part to Elden Ring one day.
Oh yeah,
Um,
because there's a lot of stuff we could talk about for certain things.
oh yeah, oh yeah. But is there any final thoughts on FPS stuff before we end this episode?
Um, I would say probably always remember the classics because even if there are modern stuff to this day, classics are still a banger to play.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I do have one more tiny little question about Blood for you. Was there any particular references that you loved or one-liners from Caleb that you liked in Blood?
Well, I mean, you mentioned earlier the whole situation with Duke and everything like that because it reminded me
Mhm.
so much of when Duke, saw, the dead Doom guy, in Duke 3D and all that. But the one thing I always found, I guess like the other thing I always found funny, was like this whole thing about something called like JoJo the Idiot Circus Boy and everything, and it's just here kind of say, I want JoJo, I want JoJo, JoJo, JoJo.
I'm trying to remember, was there a Tomb Raider reference in Blood as well?
Oh man, like I want to say yes, but like I know there was a Tomb Raider reference in Classic Shadow Warrior, but
Yeah.
I don't remember 100% for sure if there was one in Blood.
Which, don't worry, everyone. We will one day talk about Shadow Warrior, because
Oh
that's a completely different ballpark right there.
yeah.
Um,
Oh
but
yeah.
uh, but yeah, man. Oh my God, this was a good wild ride to talk about here, because
Oh yeah.
there's just so many different FPS games that this is not just gonna be like a two-parter. This is probably gonna be like three, maybe four.
Who
Cause
knows?
yeah, who knows? Yeah, but yeah, I appreciate you wanting to take a little stroll down FPS nostalgia with me. Would you like to send us off into the void, Rumble?
Sure. Well, on behalf of Onyx, we appreciate, you guys listening in to another installment of the Balls of Steel podcast.
Yes.
Please, and, as always, please feel free, to like and comment and also, subscribe to the channel for future installments because you never know exactly what we're going to talk about. And, also feel free to follow us on our individual YouTube channels and Twitches and all that good stuff to, see us live or see us do, this and that because we do stuff on our own downtimes. Whether it be from us doing separate stuff or doing stuff together.
And also, don't forget, if there's a topic you want us to talk about, that's of course not controversial or anything, please leave it
Yeah,
down in the comments. We'll put it on our bucket list per se.
yeah. Depending on like how the subject at hand, we might talk about it, man, because you never know. Sometimes we might get something that we can probably talk about. Until the next live stream, video, podcast, or whatever. We hope you all have a good day, evening, or night, and see y'all next time. And please, as always, stay safe and have a happy good gaming, everybody.
See y'all later.
This is.